Welcome to Everyday Therapy, where simple and practical concepts of therapy meet your everyday life. Hosted by licensed marriage and family therapists Brett Cushing and Krista Overson, we're here to help you unlock tools and strategies you need to become the best version of yourself. Whether you're looking for guidance, inspiration, anecdotes, or actionable advice, you're in the right place. Let's dive into Everyday Therapy.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Everyday Therapy. I'm here with Dr. Karen Ryan.
Hello.
We are delighted to have Dr. Ryan here. We're talking about a very relevant topic today, AI. Everybody seems to be talking about AI in every context now, and we're talking about AI in therapy. Are we going to be replaced, Karen?
Is it the end for us,
Yeah.
right?
This is our final podcast. It's going to be AI versions of us next week. But, you know, it's funny because everybody, I think, is wondering, there's a bit of anxiety. Am I going to be replaced?
Right.
And I thought of this. I got my hair cut a couple days ago. And the person doing my hair, she said, "Oh, you're a therapist." And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Oh, I love my therapist." And I said, "Well, great. What did you like? What really is meaningful and helpful to you?" So down to earth, totally can relate to me. And you could see this really wonderful connection.
Yeah, therapeutic relationship.
Yeah. And so I was relieved. And yet at the same time, as we're going to dive in today, there are people who are having real relationships with AI therapists.
Yeah. Getting real benefits.
Yes.
Right.
So, yeah, it's pretty provocative, and we really think it's incredibly relevant, not just for us in our career, but for our clients. Can they benefit from this? Are there harmful things they need to be aware of? Well, let's try and answer some of that.
Yeah, and even what is AI? Like, how do you even use it for those who are listening and have no idea, right? We know that there's general AI where you can get information, and then there are specific formats and structures for therapy in particular, right? So you can ask questions and get therapeutic content back. And so you're asking a question to the computer, and then AI is giving you a response.
Right, and they seem a lot smarter than me, at least. So I find that a little bit threatening.
They can scan through the data faster, right?
Yeah, a lot faster than I can. So there was an AI chat bot that was developed by Dartmouth, and they programmed it, and it was pretty successful. We've got to give credit where credit's due.
Absolutely.
And it was pretty limited in terms of working on, I think, eating disorders and some mood disorders like depression and anxiety. Yep. And yet the effects were pretty compelling, right?
Yeah, really. And what they really focused on was CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, and the AI giving interventions or skills or techniques kind of based on that CBT structure.
Yeah, which is rather basic.
Yeah, and really well researched, right?
Exactly.
That we know this has positive impact and is beneficial for a variety of different mental health needs. CBT is.
So, and when we think about them developing chatbot, sounds weird. AI chatbot. What are we talking about then? I think because people are asking, what does this mean? What is AI, artificial intelligence, as a therapist? Do you have any thoughts on that? What that means for people?
I think it can be helpful to have an actual example of what that can look like. So you are on the TheraBot and you ask, "Hey, TheraBot, I'm having trouble stopping or not thinking about an interaction I just had with my friend."
Yes.
And then you might say, "Tell me more about that." "Well, I feel like I really offended her, and now she's not calling me back, and I'm afraid I've ruined the friendship." And then the TheraBot will ask you questions, kind of CBT focused, of what evidence do you have for that? What are the facts? When did you last talk to her? And so it makes you kind of check the facts and do those skills. And so that's what it can look like. I think it's helpful to have that example.
Yes. It can look that way, and it can feel very much like a real person you're interacting with. So I'm looking at Facebook, and I show my son, who's 22, and "Hey, Drew, look at this." And it's pretty wild. In 2 seconds, he says, "Oh, yeah, that's AI. That's just, computer generated." He can tell. And yet that's going to develop more and more, it's going to be very difficult to distinguish between artificial intelligence and human intelligence. But for now, it already feels very much like you're talking to a real person.
Yeah.
And that's why they found in their study, not only did they have effective outcomes, but the people who went through this actually developed a relationship, if you can call it that. I mean, that's a question. Can you really have a relationship? But they described it as such, and they felt like they could be more themselves because they felt like AI was less judgmental and like what I was saying earlier, smarter, had more credibility.
Yeah, and what I recognize as I've been researching and watching some videos and examples of it is the TheraBot does a really good job of validating. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. That sounds really hard, or you're not alone in this. A lot of people struggle with that. And so it can be this helpful kind of validation and normalization of what you're going through, because if you're thinking it is AI, but they know that research shows I'm not alone in this. There are millions of people. That's a logical thing. And so sometimes, therapists we're pretty good at validating, but sometimes we miss those nuggets, right? Sometimes we're thinking about a different context or another question or another thing we want to explore with them, and we might miss that. So that, I think, was where a lot of people feel really heard and validated.
It's a really good point. I think in a very fundamental sense, good therapy is comprised of validation and understanding and change. And sometimes as therapists, we want so much for our clients to improve and heal that we can go to change pretty quickly. So it's part of being human,
right?
Being flawed.
And I feel like that's sometimes the flip side, right? So the flip side of when we think about what might be missing in AI therapy, and you're kind of highlighting that, where we do a DA. So a DA, or an intake with a person, and we ask them about your social history and your work history and how that's going and your medical things. And so we kind of really try to get a full sense of that individual, right? And we're working with that person. And we have then that context and that understanding. And so we that really helps guide us sometimes on interventions we might give, right? If we know that person is struggling with emotion regulation, and they are trying to figure out, how do I decrease conflict with my partner, right? We know that we can't suggest for one client to leave and take a break because they have 3 young kids. So we are able to apply that. So that's where you can see that benefit of really knowing that person have these other contextual factors that AI might not.
Absolutely. Not to mention, I don't know if AI is going to be able to do this in the future. I don't think it can yet. But we talk about incongruent messages sometimes with our clients. Do you love your spouse? Well, of course I love my spouse. That's an incongruent message, because people are saying one thing, but their tone, or maybe not even their tone, their body language is inconsistent, and we can pick up on that and we can challenge it. I don't know if AI is going to be able to do that, but it speaks to that contextual framework that we can have that they don't.
Right. And I think there is some research showing that when those contextual or those nonverbals and those cues, they can be missed, and then that can lead to some negative interventions or suggestions that feel invalidating to that individual. And so that's, I think, where they're still trying to refine AI therapy to be more sensitive to those nuances.
Yeah, and there are lots of other advantages too. Maybe we can talk a little bit more about some of the advantages, because there's concern, there's questions, will it replace therapists? And there's good reasons to go down that road, because there are some initial compelling outcomes, and it's less expensive, they're available 24/7, and that really speaks to, they don't necessarily have to replicate or replace, but they can reinforce what we're trying to do. What are your thoughts about how AI can reinforce what we're doing?
Yeah, I think it could be a wonderful supplemental thing that reinforces what you're working on in therapy, because sometimes we know that stuff comes up in between therapy sessions, right? And that's the work we do, work in session, and then clients are doing work outside of session. And it can be really beneficial to have a source to go to help kind of implement those skills when we're in the moment, those reminders of what resources are available to us. I just had a client who literally just did this week. We've been working a lot on family dynamics and anxiety and healthy boundaries, and found themselves like having trouble, and those boundaries were getting crossed, and trying to be reassured of what was healthy for them. And they were able to use ChatGPT and get validation and help and guidance, and just, those are the steps they were already thinking would be helpful. And then that was reinforced, and it was really helpful. And then we process that in our next therapy session, and really we're able to dive deeper in that. So
and I think that speaks to a very compelling part, because some of the frustration I have is I see my client 53 minutes to 60 minutes a week, and then they have the whole rest of their week and when they're interacting and doing things, and maybe I'll get an email from them or something, whereas AI can be there. I can give homework for them to do. They could do it with AI, like, help me, what's a mindfulness thing I can do right now? What's a skill that can help me bring down my emotional intensity, so that you have all that reinforcement right at their fingertips throughout the week. Even I know there's been work done with AI and mood tracking. A lot of times we don't know, what am I feeling? I have no idea. I know how everybody else feels, don't know how I'm feeling. And there's these mood I don't know, apps, but AI uses these trackers for people to kind of log in and say how they were feeling, or be prompted on things to help identify what their thoughts and what their feelings are.
Yeah.
And I always say that, like, the 3 A's of good therapy is awareness, acceptance, and then that helps us make adjustments. And so, yeah, I just think that can help.
Yeah, and the combination of being able to track your mood and track your behaviors, right? So how much are you sleeping? How much caffeine are you taking in? Like, how social have you been? So you can see the power of being able to, like, accurately track it, and that AI can step back and really look at it accurately and be like, I'm wondering if your sleep patterns have played a role in your irritability and feeling more frustrated this week, or you haven't gotten out of the house in the past 4 days. And so it really helps increase that awareness.
Yeah, and I think the way I'm trying to look at this whole topic of AI in general, and as it relates to our field, is in a very dialectical manner. I love that word. It just means in a balanced way, so that it's not all or nothing.
Yep.
Because that's when we think all or nothing. That's when our anxiety goes up and we can't regulate it. But I do see how AI can bring greater enhancement of therapy and balance it more, so that there's greater import and greater opportunity for people to be interacting about mental health topics throughout the week. Because a lot of times my clients, hey, did you do your homework? Yeah, or they have anxiety about coming in, and it's not that they're trying to be avoidant. A lot of times they just, busyness of life gets in the way, where AI can really help with that.
Yeah, and I like the APA, which is the American Psychological Association, right? And as a psychologist, right, it's the association I'm most connected to, and they called it a mix of caution and cautious optimism, right? And so how do you just use this well? But we're excited about it, like, as a field, and those who are working on it, I think, are really trying to be ethical and really being thoughtful about how can this be a resource. So I'm thankful for the people, those professionals behind it, who are trying to make it be.
Yep. And sometimes people are early adopters in life.
Yes.
And then there are late adopters and a bunch of people in the middle. I think for those of us that might be early adopters, there is some caution, and there are some limitations with AI that we can talk about. One, I don't know if you heard about this. I just read recently that MIT did a study on people who use AI, just AI in general, not for therapy in particular, but they've noticed some cognitive decline as they've been using AI on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And I just think that's noteworthy as we are talking about AI specifically with therapy. But there's other concerns.
Yeah. One of the concerns is a decrease in the social engagement, or that social interaction. That is what therapy really affords you the opportunity to do, is a here and now experience of a social interaction. And so the more we utilize AI and computers and phones and tablets, the less we're interacting with people, right? That's those nonverbals. That's that eye contact. That is being able to read body language. And it's also having some care and concern for that other person. Therapy is a unique therapeutic relationship where the focus is on the client, but there also is that just natural benefit of how am I socially engaging with this person? And here's a really safe person who can give me feedback.
And we need that.
Yes, we need that.
We absolutely need that. It's not sort of a bonus. It's an essential part of being a human being, is that social connection. And I think that book, I don't know if you read The Anxious Generation. Have you read that at all?
I have not read that one.
Oh, it's great, especially with teenagers. My kids who've grown up, younger 20s or mid-20s, they said spot on. And one of the things they highlighted in there was that social isolation that happened, not just in COVID, but increasingly in a digital world. Teens were growing up and not having live interactions with other people. And I was just speaking to some people about adolescence and loneliness and how it's gone up so much since COVID and since all of this isolation from human contact, like depression, anxiety gone up like 150% amongst teens. And I think it really speaks to the concern you bring up, but also the ease of continually avoiding human contact.
Right. And how that increases our anxiety. And so it really is some exposure work of doing that.
Right.
A good example I'm just thinking of as you're describing that, Brett, is when you walk down the hall and somebody kind of says, oh, hi, how are you? Or and you kind of pass. That in itself feels good. But when that person locks eyes with you, right? Like I am right now with you, and I say, how are you?
Yes.
It just like physiologically has a different impact on us. And like you highlighted, we are designed to be social creatures, and our bodies are designed to interact and to respond to one another. And that's the beauty of being in person or with a person in telehealth.
And I think why we're so vulnerable with this is because if I'm interacting with AI and I start to feel better, well, why do I need social interaction? It just really reinforces my desire to avoid and isolate. So I think, I'm glad you brought that up. I don't think we can stress that enough. I also have some concerns too, in just terms of neurologically what this means for people. And it's not just our mental health, it's all connected systemically with our physiological body. And so wondering and concerned how AI is able to affect negatively our neurological makeup and our arousal system, our sympathetic, our parasympathetic kind of network, and what that means for our overall functioning, and can AI really pick up on all of those complexities?
Right, because you and I are both EMDR therapists, right?
Yeah.
And so we really know about the benefit of that bilateral, using both hemispheres of our brain, right? So that really allows us to think like through logics and facts and be creative. And so what we know on research and the work we've done is the more parts of our brain, the more neurological networks that are utilized in therapeutic work or in our lives, the healthier we are. The better we can problem solve, the better we can process. And so if AI is processing and problem solving for us, we are not utilizing our brains, and there's pruning that goes, right? Like our brains become less good at it, use it or lose it. And so that's, I think, that piece. I'm interested to see the cognitive deficits or the concerns that come with.
We were just talking before we started the episode about what kind of things we grew up with, or our kids grew up with. Did you ever see the movie Wall-E?
Yes.
Yeah, and remember everybody was in their like lounge chairs with their screen in front of them. They'd be right next to each other, and all they never got out of their lounge chair. They just looked at the screen. And it was funny and sad, and yet maybe a prophetic vision of where we could go if we're not careful.
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean, my teenager, right? The volleyball team were out to dinner, and they're all sitting next to one another on their phones.
Right.
And I'm like, stack up the phones. And they will. They stack them up in the middle of the table.
Nice.
And they start interacting. But we're inching closer and closer to that, aren't we?
We have to be vigilant. And lastly, maybe before we wrap it up, is just some ethical concerns too.
Yeah.
I think people are very worried now. Like we were talking about Alexa in our home. Oh, Alexa's listening to everything we say. And where does all this information go that we're sharing in an AI therapy session? Where does that go? Is that protected? Can I really have assurance that that's not going to come back to haunt me someday? So that's one ethical consideration.
Right.
We've talked a little bit about the over-reliance on AI too. And I think sometimes AI, artificial, this is what I've heard from people that are really well steeped in this. Artificial intelligence is only as good as the human intelligence that's developing.
Yep.
And so that's an important reminder for us that there are going to be limitations in general. We don't even know what all of them are right now, but we have to be vigilant and considerate.
Yeah, and I think, like we highlighted, it's available 24/7, but I think one of the other things of concern is just in a crisis, right? And that importance of utilizing, an individual, utilizing 988 or other resources where you can get that trained person to really give you that advice. Because if some of those nuances are missed, I think that can be a concern. And then just knowing it can't diagnose as well. But it can be a resource. We just want to caution and cautious optimism.
I like that. Yeah, we don't want to be doom and gloom. In Nystrom, we want to be ahead of the curve with this. And I think our stance is pretty much, let's just be aware and let's not panic. And let's have a balanced perspective on this.
Yeah.
Know that, yes, this can be really helpful,
Yep.
and we need to be a little bit cautious.
Yeah. To help ourselves as providers and our clients use it as intuitively and effectively and insightfully as possible.
Yeah. Well, Nystrom does not have artificial intelligence for its therapists so far, and but
We're good. We're good to go.
Yeah, we got a lot of great people, so we'd love to have people seek us out,
We are here. Yep.
and we'd love to connect with you in a very real way.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us.
Take care, Al.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Everyday Therapy. We hope you're inspired to apply today's insights to your own life. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you found this podcast helpful, please leave us a review. It helps others discover the show and join our community. See you next session. Everyday Therapy is a production of Nystrom & Associates, one of the largest behavioral health organizations in the country. To learn more, visit nystromcounseling.com.